The winter of 2000 in the American Northeast was unusually harsh. In Greenwich, Connecticut, particularly, snow had been falling continuously since December, blanketing the affluent neighborhood of elegant mansions in a silvery white world. On one such cold morning, I was riding in a black Lexus LS 400 with my parents. Though the car's interior was warm and the leather seats remained soft to the touch, my heart felt frozen. At 12 years old, I could painfully sense the strange atmosphere in the car. "Hannah, you brought all your things, didn't you?" Mother's voice was unusually shrill. She sat in the passenger seat, wrapped in a Hermes scarf and wearing Gucci sunglasses. Dressed in the latest Chanel tweed jacket, she was every bit the beautiful socialite wife who had made her name in New York society. But I knew the true nature hidden behind that perfect exterior. I had to turn down an invitation to a friend's garden party, Mother complained to Father as he drove. After all, we couldn't possibly show that child's face there. If anyone in society knew our daughter had such a monstrous face. I instinctively covered my face with my hands. The large burn scar that terrified even me whenever I looked in the mirror. My parents had always insisted that the scar I got as a young child was due to my own carelessness. "We told you not to go near the stove, such a clumsy girl, really, ending up with such an ugly face," the verbal abuse continued daily. Mother, in particular, seemed to find my very existence distasteful. Father continued driving in silence. As an executive at Merck Pharmaceuticals, he earned several $1,000,000 annually. In his expensive suit, he was the very picture of a successful businessman. But whenever Mother berated me, he never tried to stop her. Our house was in one of the wealthiest areas of Greenwich's upscale residential district. A 5,000-square-foot mansion with a pool and tennis court. But for me, it was nothing but a place of hell. I had no place at school either. The students at Greenwich Prep distanced themselves as soon as they saw my face. The girls were especially cruel. Words like a monster and a freak reached my ears every time I passed them in the hallways. The only solace came during visits to my grandmother's house. Father's mother was a self-made businesswoman who had built up Right Wellness, a health food company. Her mansion was like heaven to me. "Hannah, what books did you read today?" Grandmother would listen intently to what I had to say. Margot, the live-in housekeeper, was kind too. Originally from Spain, she would tell me stories from her homeland while making authentic paella. But today, the atmosphere in the Lexus felt different. A few days ago, my parents had suddenly announced we were moving. When ordered to pack, my belongings barely filled one cardboard box. I was never bought expensive clothes, and books were only borrowed from the school library. Perhaps my existence had already begun to fade within this household. The car proceeded along familiar roads. Outside the window, snow-covered maple trees lined the street. Then suddenly, the car stopped at a certain spot. "Hannah, get out here." Mother's voice was colder than the accumulated snow. I looked at her in confusion. "But aren't we all moving Togdash?" "That's enough." Mother raised her voice. "I can't take living with a child like you anymore. Useless, with that unbearable face. This is goodbye. We can leave you at Grandma's house." I opened the door with trembling hands. The moment my feet touched the snow, I felt a freezing cold throughout my body. "Dad, Mom, please." But my voice didn't reach them. The Lexus door slammed shut with a loud noise, and the car drove away, leaving white exhaust fumes in its wake. At that moment, thick ice began to form in my 12-year-old heart. The Greenwich winter sky was overcast with low-hanging leaden clouds. I collapsed onto the snow in front of Grandmother's mansion. Sobs broke the silence of the upscale neighborhood. Even covering my face with both hands couldn't stop the tears. Am I really a monster? In the freezing cold, I kept asking myself this question. The Lexus carrying my parents had already disappeared around the corner. With just 2 weeks until Christmas, their final gift to me was eternal rejection. Suddenly, a warm hand touched my shoulder from behind. Hannah. What on earth happened? When I turned around, there stood my grandmother. Even past 70, she maintained a dignified beauty, her eyes filled with deep compassion. She wore her usual Hermes scarf and simple navy dress. But today, even that elegant attire was wet with snow. Grandma. Mom and Dad, they. The words wouldn't come. Grandmother held me tightly as I could only sob. It's cold. Let's go inside first. Grandmother helped me up and led me into the mansion. As we opened the front door, warm air enveloped us. The marble floor of the main foyer was decorated for Christmas. Several presents were already placed under the enormous Christmas tree. Margot. Please. At grandmother's call, the live-in housekeeper Margot came running from the kitchen. Originally from Spain, she was like a sister to me. Oh my, Hannah, what's wrong? Margot sprang into action immediately. She prepared hot cocoa, spread a blanket on the sofa by the fireplace, and had us sit down. This living room was my favorite place in grandmother's mansion. The floor-to-ceiling windows offered views of the garden, while the fireplace provided comfortable warmth. Now, tell us everything slowly. Encouraged by grandmother's gentle voice, I told them everything. The sudden move. The car ride. And the moment I was abandoned. When I finished speaking, grandmother's expression changed. Anger colored her usually serene features. Unforgivable. She muttered in a low voice. Margot was biting her lip. Hannah, listen carefully, grandmother took my hand. You are absolutely not a monster. You are my precious granddaughter. From now on, this is your home. Those words brought forth tears again. But this time, they were tears of relief. But, my face. There's something I need to tell you about that scar. Grandmother took a deep breath. Your burn wasn't caused by your carelessness. It happened when. Grandmother began telling me the truth. When I was 4 years old, Father had made a major mistake at work and was about to be demoted from executive to regular employee. That night, when Mother heard the news, she became furious and got into a violent argument with Father. When she tried to push Father, I was nearby and got pushed into the fireplace. Those two didn't want to admit their mistake, so they blamed everything on you. As I listened to the story, fragments of childhood memories began coming back. Intense pain. Bright red flames. And my parents' shouting voices. But it's okay, now, grandmother continued. I'll arrange for the best doctors. Your scars will definitely get better. Margot brought fresh cocoa. The sweet aroma gradually began to thaw my frozen heart. Hannah, you must be hungry? Margot called out gently. I'll make you a Spanish omelet. With plenty of cheese, just how you like it. For the first time, a faint smile crossed my face. That night, I fell asleep in a guest room, no, what would now become my room in grandmother's house. The bed was king-sized, with sheets made of the finest Egyptian cotton. Through the window, I could see the snow-covered garden illuminated by moonlight. Good night, Hannah. Grandmother opened the door one last time to check on me. Grandma, thank you. Your life is just beginning. True to those words, my new life began moving forward from that cold winter day. The 12-year-old girl rejected by her parents was about to walk toward a happiness she could never have imagined. Though at the time, I didn't yet know that. In spring, as Connecticut's harsh winter came to an end, colorful flowers began blooming in grandmother's garden. My new life, too, was slowly but surely taking shape. Hannah, we're going to Boston today. One morning in March, grandmother announced this at the breakfast table. Amidst the aroma of Margot's perfect French toast, I looked up anxiously. Boston. Yes. I've made an appointment with a renowned plastic surgeon at Massachusetts General Hospital. I involuntarily clutched my napkin. For the past 12 years, my parents had neglected treating my burns. Mother's voice saying, "Such money would be wasted," still echoed in my ears. But, the money. Don't worry about money, grandmother smiled. Right Wellness surpassed $200 million in sales last year. Your treatment costs are trivial compared to the company's revenue. That afternoon, we headed to Boston in grandmother's private Mercedes. While Thomas the driver quietly handled the wheel, I gazed out the window at the scenery. Massachusetts General Hospital exuded an overwhelming presence just by its appearance. It was a hospital equipped with the latest medical facilities. "This is quite a complex burn scar," the doctor carefully examined my face in the consultation room. "But your youth is an advantage. Your skin's regenerative ability is excellent, and by combining the latest treatments, we can expect significant improvement." "Can it really get better?" "Yes. We'll combine laser treatment with regenerative medicine, and possibly consider skin grafts if necessary. It will take time, but we'll definitely achieve good results." The doctor's confident words planted a small seed of hope in my heart. Treatment began the following week. Weekly trips to Boston for hospital visits. Though some procedures were painful, I gritted my teeth and endured. Grandmother accompanied me every time, stroking my head saying "You did well" after each procedure. School life was changing too. At grandmother's suggestion, I transferred from Greenwich Prep to Phillips Academy Andover, which had a higher academic reputation. "Your intelligence is special, Hannah. You need an environment where you can develop it." As grandmother said, life at Andover was stimulating. The historic campus, first-rate teachers, and above all, the students' attitudes were different. They saw my inner self, not my appearance. "Hannah, could you help me with this math problem? Let's enter the literature department's essay contest together." Gradually, I made friends. I became particularly close with Irene, who lived in the same dormitory. She was an aspiring writer who appreciated my love of reading. "Hannah, you're really smart," Irene would often say. "And kind too. Appearance doesn't matter at all." On weekends, I invited Irene for sleepovers at grandmother's house. We would stay up late discussing books while eating Margot's Spanish cuisine. My academic performance improved dramatically. I particularly excelled in mathematics and science, earning high praise from teachers. "Grandma, look." I excitedly reported my final exam results. All A's. Grandmother beamed with a broad smile. "Wonderful. But there's something even more important." "More important?" "Yes. Money and grades are certainly important. But connections with people are even more important." Grandmother began teaching me about her company's management philosophy bit by bit. Right Wellness didn't succeed just by making good products. It's because we valued our employees and genuinely cared about our customers' health. Without a heart that treasures people, you can't grasp true success. I spent more time with grandmother in the study at night. Under the elegant crystal chandelier, she showed me various books. From business texts to world literature classics, I was overwhelmed by the depth of her knowledge. Knowledge is power, Hannah. But how you use that power is what's important. Thanks to medical advances and continuous treatment, my burn scars gradually faded. Around the time I stopped being afraid to look in the mirror, grandmother prepared a wonderful surprise. I've booked lessons with a makeup artist. Learning makeup techniques will help you feel more confident. Indeed, learning proper makeup techniques greatly reduced my anxiety about my appearance. But what changed even more was my inner self. Hannah, you're never alone. Before bedtime, grandmother would quietly visit my room. Through the large window, we could see a sky full of stars. Thank you, Grandma. I am happy. A happiness I couldn't have imagined when my parents abandoned me now filled my heart. I was beginning to understand for the first time what family truly meant. On Yale University's graduation day, the sky over New Haven was clear, and the fresh greenery sparkled brilliantly. I stood on stage as an honors student, delivering the representative speech for the School of Management. Life sometimes takes unexpected turns. But within those turns lie precious gifts. In the audience, grandmother smiled proudly. Though already over 80, her gaze remained dignified as ever. Thanks to 10 years of treatment at the hospital, my facial scars had improved significantly. But what had changed even more was my inner self. After the graduation ceremony, grandmother invited me to her study, saying she had something important to discuss. Hannah, I want to entrust the company to you. I was taken aback by the sudden proposal. Right Wellness is now a $500 million company. I'm getting old, and it's time to pass it on to the next generation. You'll make an excellent CEO, I'm sure of it. But Grandma, I don't have enough experience. Experience will come with time. What's important is having a heart that cares for others. You have that more than anyone. At grandmother's confident words, I bowed deeply. I'll definitely live up to your expectations. From that day, my business career began in earnest. I spent the first 2 years learning practical operations under grandmother, and at 30, I officially became CEO. The company continued to grow under my leadership. Always incorporate actual customer feedback in new product development. Be thorough with employee health management too. Profit is important, but there are things even more important than that. While putting grandmother's management philosophy into practice, I implemented various reforms. We expanded our organic ingredient procurement network and strengthened quality control systems. We also enhanced employee benefits. Your company's employee satisfaction is top in the industry. When a business magazine interview gave us that evaluation, I was truly happy. Success also gave me confidence. By age 35, Right Wellness's annual sales exceeded $1 billion. We had grown into a major corporation with 20 branch offices across the United States. However, my interests weren't limited to just business expansion. From my experience of being helped with burn treatment, I established a foundation to support children in similar situations. At the establishment ceremony of the Right Foundation for Burn Survivors, I gave a speech while holding back tears. This foundation is a place to deliver hope. We want to create a society where everyone can pursue their potential without being judged by their appearance. The foundation provides top-level treatment to hundreds of children each year and maintains robust educational support programs. Charity events drew substantial support from New York society circles, the same ones my mother had once yearned to join. Happiness arrived in my personal life as well. Meeting a man who excelled as an executive secretary enriched my life further. Hannah, you're truly an amazing woman. On the night he proposed, at an upscale Manhattan restaurant, he said those words as he presented the ring. Appearance doesn't matter. I fell for your strength and kindness. The wedding was held in grandmother's garden. At 88, grandmother sat in a wheelchair but beamed with joy. Congratulations, Hannah. Your happy face is my greatest pride. 2 years later, our daughter Wiley was born. 2 years after that, our son James joined us, making our family even livelier. While enjoying the joys of parenting, Right Wellness's management continued smoothly. The company kept growing through strengthening internet sales and developing new health foods. Mom, the company is really big. When Wiley first visited the office, her eyes sparkled as she said this. I answered while holding my daughter. Yes, it is. But there's something more important than the company's size. What's that? Cherishing people. That's the most important thing Grandma taught me. Yes, grandmother's teachings still live on within me. As a business leader, as a mother, and as a human being. It had become my habit to gaze at the starry sky from the bedroom balcony after putting the children to bed. The same sky I looked up at as a 12-year-old. A happiness I couldn't have imagined then was now surely here. In the fall of 2025, during New England's most beautiful autumn foliage season, grandmother's funeral was held at the Greenwich Church. She had passed away at 95. My grandmother was not just a businesswoman, I said in my eulogy. She was a loving grandmother and a true life mentor. Money is important, but people are more important. These words are the greatest legacy she left us. Among the attendees were many Right Wellness employees. Some were in tears. While grandmother had been strict as a CEO, she thought of her employees as family and always put their happiness first. One morning, a week after the funeral, unexpected visitors came to grandmother's mansion. We need to talk about the inheritance. It was my father's voice, hoarse after 25 years. Mother stood behind him. Though they had both aged, their eyes remained unchanged. Well, Mother looked at me with contempt. The monster has become quite human-like, hasn't she? I smiled quietly at those words. They couldn't hurt me anymore. Mother, you have no right to use those words. What did you say? I know that my burns were caused by your fight with Father. The color drained from Mother's face. Father began fidgeting nervously. Never mind that, Father tried to change the subject. What about Mother's inheritance? I'm her real son. I should have inheritance rights. I pulled out some documents. I'm sorry, but grandmother's assets were legally settled over 20 years ago. What? Mother interjected. That's impossible. Both the house and Right Wellness are in my name. Grandmother had prepared everything 20 years ago. Father suddenly began ransacking the house. There must be other assets. Jewels, artwork. But there was nothing to find. While still alive, grandmother had determined the destination of all her assets. The company to me, jewelry to charities, artwork to museums. I watched my parents frenzy calmly. The housekeeper who had succeeded Margot called the police, and soon both were taken away on charges of trespassing. Afterward, Father's hidden truth came to light. He had been dismissed from his executive position at a Right Wellness subsidiary for embezzlement. He had been taking company money to support his lavish lifestyle with Mother. Money is important, but people are more important. Now I deeply understand the meaning of grandmother's words. My parents drowned in money and severed their bonds with the most important people. Such actions always have consequences. Mom, can I put up Grandma's photo? My daughter Wiley brought a memorable photo with grandmother. I nodded gently. Of course. Grandma will always live on in our hearts. On the study wall hung a photo of grandmother's smiling face. Next to it were family photos of me with my husband and children, a picture of Right Wellness's new headquarters building, and group photos with children supported by the foundation. Outside the window, the autumn sunset was painting the garden golden. The children's laughter reached the room as they played in the garden. When my husband returned from work, he would call out to the family, "I'm home, my beloved ones." I know this is true wealth. Priceless treasures that money cannot buy. On my desk lay the latest management plan. Right Wellness had grown to become one of America's top health food manufacturers. But my management philosophy remains unchanged. Cherish people. That's where everything begins. At night, I look up at the starry sky from the bedroom balcony. At 37, I no longer know fear. The scars on my face have become part of my identity. They're not a sign of weakness, but of strength. Watch over me, Grandma, I whispered to the sky. I'll pass on the love you taught me to the next generation. This new life that began 25 years ago in this Greenwich mansion. It wasn't always a smooth journey. But all of it shaped who I am today. Money, status, appearance. These might be part of life. But what truly matters lies much deeper. Bonds with loved ones. Hearts that care for each other. And the courage to bring light to someone else's life. I know this now. That 12-year-old girl is no longer alone. In this moment, I am surrounded by genuine happiness.